Welcome back to the after show segment of the podcast where we were discussing architecture. And don't forget to check out the vocabulary list that accompanies this after show and the main portion of the podcast so you can improve your English skills. So we were talking about ancient architecture or just architecture in Algeria in general. And I believe Ayub, and of course, or you have a lot of experience with Turkey. Well, of course, or being from Turkey, knows a lot. But I believe, Ayub, you know a lot about ancient Turkish architecture.
I have been to some places there. So if we speak about near past history, we could speak about Galata Tower, about...
what is Galata Tower?
Yeah, it was built actually by the Byzantines first. Then when the Turks, they kicked out the Byzantines, they reconstructed the Galata Tower and it became like an observation deck for all the city. It's like it protects the palace of the bay, you call it, right? Bay.
Or Strait of Bosphorus, you can say.
Strait, yeah. No, I mean the bay, the Turkish word for Sultan. Bay.
Sultan Han, all right.
Yeah,
bay, B-E-Y, all right.
Not a bay.
I was thinking.
So the tower was just a watchout tower.
Watchout tower.
Yeah, not watchout tower.
Yeah, and there
watch
is,
tower. Yeah.
there is
Baywatch.
Baywatch.
Why? Yeah, anyways, all right. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah, and there is a myth about this tower that if two lovers go there, they can be forever, like together forever. So if they go to the top and look at the whole Bosphorus, like bay, is it bay or is it like a river?
The Bosphorus, this is a channel, this is strait.
Channel, yes, straight. So so they can be for like together forever if you go there.
It's kind of a myth. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work for me anyway. So
I never tried it.
Mythbuster.
Yeah, this is like in the European side of Istanbul. Actually, it's in Istanbul. And other architectures that I saw there was Hagia Sophia.
Hagia Sophia, yeah.
Hagia Sophia.
Oh, in Cappadocia.
No. Cappadocia is something else.
I know it's different. Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, and
Just
Cappadocia,
randomly picking words.
Cappadocia.
Cappadocia is related to the Roman Empire actually.
Yeah.
There are some shapes like mushrooms there, you know. Like, it's really magnificent.
Like
there are
Star
some caves.
Wars.
Like
films,
Star Wars,
Yeah.
Hoth.
It was filmed there, no?
No, James Bond was filmed there, I guess. One of the James Bond was filmed in Istanbul plus Cappadocia, I guess. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, was that The World Is Not Enough?
Not enough, yeah.
I remember that one, yeah.
Cool. The world is not enough. But you know what? He knows more than me about my country and my city, and I'm amazed, you know. That's great. So Istanbul is great.
So going back to Istanbul, there is also the Blue Mosque.
Yeah.
It's a really big mosque there, and just in front of it there is Hagia Sophia, which was built because of love. Like it was for his lover, right? Yeah. So that's it.
Like a gift. Yeah.
And it has like really beautiful architecture there. Even the Grand Bazaar, it has like really good shape. You know, when you go there, it can give you that feeling. You know.
Like a labyrinth almost.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a combination of Byzantine, East Roman Empire architecture plus New Age Republican architecture too in Istanbul. You can find it. But as Ayub said, we have lots of landmarks, like an historical landmarks, like Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia. And we have lots of palaces like Dolmabahce Palace and Taksim Palace. So they're kind of all touristic hotspots in Istanbul. If you guys visit there, just go with that. Yeah.
And if we speak about ancient history, I saw the Ephesus ruins in Izmir, and I read also about the Göbekli Tepe ruins, which are dated 9.
I'm not familiar with these. Yeah.
It's they don't know that civilization actually, but they know for sure that they buried their own city on purpose.
Way.
Yes, on purpose. And even the architecture.
What idiots.
Yeah, that's the mystery. Yeah.
Oh, send people.
What they don't know now, like what is mysterious about this landmark is they discovered that it is very impossible for them. It is very impossible for them to construct something like that 9,500 BC.
Mhm.
It's really like the architecture is really straight and accurate. Okay. And also Ephesus, since I visited the place, it gave me that shiver, like
Oh, yeah.
I felt the greatness of the place, like it's really wide-ranged place, and yeah, it's related to Greek
It's
Greek civilization.
another section of the
Yeah.
Greek civilization
Uh-huh.
on
Yeah.
Anatolian soil, like in Turkish soil. So it's Izmir area is also close to Greece. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like Mount Olympus kind of
Yeah.
structure. But
So
yeah,
Did the Greeks, how much influence did the Greeks have on Turkish architecture?
or the other way around?
Or the other way around, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interconnected. So it's
Yeah.
all right. People think that all right, it's kind of different to different cultures, but it's not. So we are kind of very, very interconnected. It's like
Yeah.
Greek people, Turkish people. There are still Greek people living in Istanbul. Lots of Greek people.
Yeah.
And there are lots of Turkish people living in Greece, in Athens and Saloniki.
Yeah.
So
Well, I know you have half
yeah,
Greek,
half blood.
half.
Yeah.
Such a
Cyprus.
cool mix,
Mhm.
yeah, to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And, mhm.
Is there any are there any ancient ruins to talk about in Russia?
Wow. I
Maybe
don't know. Let's
Derbent, but-
define ancient. Yeah, like BC, something that is related to
let's
BC.
talk about BC.
Actually, I really, I'm not maybe into this very, very historical stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, I just don't know. Maybe Derbent, yeah, but I really don't know if they date back to.
Well, definitely Derbent, because I went to a fortress in Derbent, which
Well,
It sounds
was-
like Turkish too.
yeah,
Derbent.
it sounds like it could have that
when
kind of
was it? built?
Persian Turkish
Mhm.
kind of. Well, it was actually a Persian fortress many centuries ago.
Like Middle Ages?
I'm not exactly sure exactly which
Mhm.
century it is. Forgive my ignorance.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly renowned historian.
Yeah, I'm not into that much too. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
no, I'm
me neither.
I'm
That's why
fascinated
I'm
by
just-
it.
I like it, but
I'm trying to
don't know
figure
much
out
about it.
which
Yeah.
cities in Russia could be. Like,
There is Altai, the Anasovian cave.
but
cool.
cave is cave. It's not
But
architecture.
people live there actually. It is
yeah.
kind of, so it is also like something from BC. And what is interesting about this, they discovered new species of humans that
Mhm.
lived and they disappeared.
Yeah.
Oh, so like like what do they call Neanderthals?
Neanderthal. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
If we speak now, we have Chinese people. They are characterized with narrow eye. We have
Yeah.
black people. We have many ethnicities. So they said a big part of history in humanity, in human history, it disappeared. And when they discovered the Denisovans species, it's really totally different species from ours. Yeah. And speaking about architecture, they found some ruins there, and they discovered that they settled in that place and they lived in that cave and they died there. So that cave was actually an extension for like throughout the mountain, where it's where they took shelter.
Yeah.
And outside there was just like some agricultural stuff. Yeah.
Now
pretty-
I feel humiliated because he knows more about Turkey and Russia
Yeah,
than
yeah,
we
so-
do.
Yeah.
I'm amazed, you know.
You
I don't
yeah,
know
you-
research.
Come on, man. You're great, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
He
my
knows
country.
his stuff.
Yeah.
I watch a
Yeah.
lot of documentaries.
Maybe I watch wrong documentaries.
Yeah, I've been watching too many crime documentaries.
Yeah. That's yeah. We need to just look for
Yeah.
more historical content. Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, St. Petersburg is a pretty modern city. Yeah, it was, I think, like 1703 or
Yeah, that's it. I remember
1704,
that
something
date.
like this. Yeah, and Moscow Well, it's pretty ancient, but it had been destroyed like several times because it was on fire and it was like reconstructed a lot of times. So now we can't find a lot of very ancient places in Moscow even. And Novosibirsk is very modern, the same like, well, for example, the city I come from, Novokuznetsk, it has a fortress and the city was built around this fortress. It's called Kuznetskaya крепость, Kuznetsk Fortress. And I think it dates back to like the 17th century, I guess, but not very ancient.
Well, I
as
guess
well.
this area is quite relatively newly inhabited, except for aside from Altai, perhaps, and maybe the Mongols.
Yeah, because Siberia
old
was not.
Well, Novosibirsk as a city is a new city. It's what was it? Novonikolaevsk was the original name.
Yeah.
New.
Like Nikolai, like the
like the Tsar.
The Tsar, exactly.
And I guess that probably the oldest building that we can find here is like built in the very end of the 19th century, like maybe 1990s. Oh, sorry, 1890s. Oh, I'm so bad at numbers. Sorry, 1890s. Sure. Of course.
Yeah, well, it's a new city, generally speaking. Yeah, so ancient. The UK, we have some ancient.
Stonehenge,
of course. My favorite old city is Bath, which is a city. Do you know much about Bath?
I remember we have a teacher, John, and he was from Bath, and he told us.
I didn't realize he was from Bath.
Yeah, he was, or at least he lived there, because I remember he was telling us about the Roman baths.
It's absolutely stunning. The city is absolutely stunning. It's really close to Bristol, which is also another great British city. And Bath,
I guess it was a kind of resort.
It was a Roman, maybe, I'm not sure if it was a resort or not. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but it's definitely worth checking out. Bath has some of the best architecture in the whole country. All the buildings have an older style. It's not all Roman architecture. Some of it is a more, I wouldn't say modern, but Georgian architecture and more classical British styles. Because in Britain we have several styles. I'm not an expert, but Georgian architecture, Edwardian architecture,
Victorian,
of course.
Renaissance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Bath has a mixture of all these styles, which is why it's really worth checking out. It's a really small little city. Yeah, I guess I could call it a really, really tiny city. But it's definitely worth checking out. Great pubs, great Roman ruins. Yeah, and the bath itself is, you can't unfortunately have a bath there anymore, which is kind of ridiculous because you call the city Bath and you can't even have a bath in the bath. But it is beautiful.
Funny name for a city.
It is, yeah. Yeah. Banya city.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that place because I went to university in Bristol and it's about, I think it's like 20 miles away, which is about 30 kilometers. So you can ride your bicycle there from Bristol and it's, definitely worth checking out. So if you go to the UK, must check out cities, must visit cities in terms of architecture are Oxford, Cambridge, Bath. I would say Bristol too. Edinburgh has some excellent
castle and everything.
Castles and there's so many places. But of course, London. You can't not mention London. You also have towards the north. You have Hadrian's Wall, which is pretty bloody cool. I think it's in Cumbria, which is the northwestern part of the UK, and that's pretty ancient. It's from the Roman. Is it the Roman days? I can't remember, but Scotland and England. I can't remember I can't remember the exact history, but Hadrian's Wall, definitely check it out in the northwest of England. Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. Why is it necessary to protect old buildings?
Is it?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's pretend.
Let's take this example. For example, let's say something catalytic happens to our world, okay? Now, and imagine that some people survive, and imagine that we don't have technology like photos to see them. We cannot know how actually the people in the future cannot know how we lived if everything disappears around us. Okay? But as much as we know about the past, we know how those people lived. Let's say, for example, about Renaissance architecture. It shows a lot of religious stuff. It shows that they had the time, enough time to work, because to build such constructions, it really takes time, right? But now, if we characterize our society, it's a fast society. Our time is limited, okay? So we can see this from our type of constructions, just cubes and build them up, and you have like 25-story building, right? But now, so you can see it can give you some fingerprints about many aspects, about art, about their feelings, about even the sociopsychology, okay, of the people there. And that's I think something important, so we can learn from the past.
Yeah, in England we have a lot of people trying to destroy old statues, and because they believe they come from racist colonialists. And yeah, sure, you might racism's terrible. Colonialism is not exactly a friendly thing always.
But let's not forget about the historical principle, because
aspect,
back in those days it was not considered bad things. I mean,
yes,
we are developing, and I think if we destroy everything now, then soon we will come back to those days.
Yeah.
Because we need to preserve it in order not to repeat the mistakes, and in order to remember the good things about it, and also from the point of aesthetic pleasure.
Yeah.
Because it's just nice to walk around a beautiful city with nice architecture.
I was really upset to find out that in Ukraine they got rid of all the old Soviet buildings and stuff, and the Soviet symbols, and it made me so sad because there's so much interesting history there.
Yeah.
And they decided to rip it off for whatever reason. We're not going to go too deep into that, but what I love about Russia is that they retain all these old Soviet symbols everywhere. I love it, and I love walking down the street and seeing a Soviet emblem on a building. It's just amazing, the history, whether you agreed with the Soviet Union or not. It's so cool.
That's there, right? Yeah.
And I mean, of course, the Nazis were absolutely terrible. You don't even need to say that. Of course, they were absolutely terrible, but they had some pretty interesting aesthetics. And yeah, I feel because Germany was probably in a probably felt like it had to completely whitewash its any kind of trace of Nazism. But what do you think?
You're talking about an architecture, like a Berlin Olympiad Stadium.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that Germany should have completely eviscerated, demolished any Nazi symbolism from the city?
I think we should be objective over this matter, because we need not only to remember the good things about our past, but the bad things also. So
I totally agree.
I don't think they should push it away like this,
Yeah, it can be a sensitive topic for a lot of people, but at the same time, I feel like, I mean, the Egyptians did some terrible things to.
Yeah,
they had slaves and
Mayans, for example, and they were human sacrificing.
Exactly.
And everything, yeah.
Let's say we have a student who wants to make research about symbolism of Nazis, for example.
Yeah.
So he should go. He should have some field work and observe, So if you demolish everything, he won't be able to do that. This is just one example,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
and also, I think there should be some experts who will decide if this thing, let's say a building, has an art value or just maybe political value. So it's different. If it is a piece of art.
But when we speak about the Nazis, it's not art, it's something.
Ben was speaking about architecture. Some buildings were constructed during the Nazi time. And if it is a valuable building in terms of architecture, in terms of art, then why knock it down only because it was built in that time?
And the Nazis themselves did some terrible things with, speaking of arts, they wanted to destroy a lot of art. So they did. Yeah, they were terrible in that regard.
In France occupation, I guess, time, right?
Yeah. And they had I think it's called Entarten zur Kunst. I don't speak German, but I remember that word, that term.
Yeah.
It just means like degenerate art, basically. So they wanted to whitewash their previous, and that was terrible. Among a lot of terrible things they did as well.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah. But they did have some pretty cool aesthetics, unfortunately. Like, and I don't think Germany should whitewash those any traces of that. I think they should keep it and remember.
I only remember the Berlin Olympiad Stadium. They rebuilt it, but one pillar or column of the original one is still there. Just make people remember, right? This was built originally back in the Nazis' days, kind of thing. So I remember that example only in Germany. Yeah.
So I remember watching these videos of these ISIS militants destroying Damascus. What are you doing? Yeah, it was pretty terrible. In England, we have, like I said before, a lot of people want to remove statues and
like the historical figures.
Yeah, and even Winston Churchill, like the Winston Churchill statue has been defaced many times because maybe he said a couple of racist things here and there, maybe, but nonetheless, I would love to preserve the history of the country, no matter how disturbing it is. It might be. Yeah, pretty sensitive topic. Well, let us know in the comments, guys, what you think. Should we get rid of our disturbing past? Do you think that, for instance, Iraq should have destroyed Saddam Hussein's statues? Let us know what you think in the comments. So yeah. Another topic I'd like to bring up is, do you think that we should take the Soviet approach to building homes very quickly to deal with the homeless crisis in many different cities? Do you think we should ignore planning permission? Or do you think that planning permission exists for a good reason?
That's hard.
If you want to have an immediate action to help people, you can choose that Soviet approach, you know? Okay, they need shelter, they need a roof, right? We need to do that as long as they need that in a way, all right? So you can choose that. But for the city planning and everything, I don't know. But what is the point? The beauty of the city or the human life? So that's the thing, I guess.
And safety also.
Oh, yeah. So
Safety.
what should be the focus of it?
Well, speaking of safety, have you heard of this place called Grenfell Tower? It's just a boring housing building in London, but it made the headlines because it had a huge fire inside the building and many people died in their homes, mostly immigrants. And what happened was, on the outside of the building was this cladding, which is these layers, which are kind of hard to explain. They're just basically panels which you put on the outside of the building, and the fire rushed up through the cladding of the building. And the building was then found out to be like a big fire hazard. And and some people said that it was
intentional,
almost, like they wanted
like
to
an
kill
arson.
They wanted to kill these immigrants. And I don't really think that, to be honest, but
something similar happened to China too, I guess, couple of weeks ago in Guangzhou.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, people are still in lockdown in China because of COVID-19. And in one building, like you said, there was a fire, and the fire brigade didn't respond on time and let them burn inside. And it was believed that the residents of the building, I guess, they attended a protest against the government 2 or 3 days ago. So that's why they didn't do anything to put the fire out in a way. So maybe it was kind of an intentional too, as you said. But you don't believe that it's like in that way?
Well, I don't believe it's intentional.
Okay.
That people wanted to burn down a building full of people. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe not.
You can never know, but
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
But London has a big problem with house prices. New York, absolutely huge problem with house prices and a housing shortage. I mean, I think that, we just need to take the Soviet approach and
Exactly.
it's better spend our taxpayers' money on that and maybe have a couple buildings that are not exactly the best of quality and put people inside it. What do you think, Maria? Do you think that?
I think that probably that's what they are doing now in Moscow. They are building this, as you said, coffin houses in the outskirts of the city, and they look pretty scary. Yeah, and they are not of the best quality.
Yeah.
But probably they will last forever.
Well, yeah, but weren't the old Soviet buildings not intended to be used for a long period of time?
Yeah, yeah.
And they're taking down a lot of old Soviet buildings, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah.
at least here in Novosibirsk.
I don't know about Novosibirsk, but in Moscow they had this program of renovation of the city, and some houses were supposed to be knocked down. But local residents were against it because they were used to living in their places, and they have their green zones. For example, this Khrushchevka type of building, it is usually like 5 stories and a lot of green places around. Whereas these coffin houses, kind of skyscrapers, they have not enough green, not enough parking spaces. They
have no identity really to them. A lot of this modern architecture you can see in any country in the world. Whereas the Soviet buildings, at least you know you're in the Soviet Union. There has a Soviet feel to it. Whereas these glass kind of Pinterest buildings, you can see anywhere, any corner of the world.
Because it was done by professionals. It was a specific style. Maybe not everybody will like it, but still. And now some buildings are just maybe being built to earn money as fast as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I stayed in Los Angeles and Las Vegas for like over a year and a half, and I just saw so many people in tents and like mentally ill people and drug addicts and people living in all sorts of places. And I just think, why not just build a big like...
Is it because there is a crisis?
There's many. No, it's
or
not.
some of them just choose to live in
A
the
lot of
streets.
people do choose because, but they're going to be there anyway and they're going to cause a lot of problems. Why not just get a bunch of shipping containers?
They will escape, maybe, and come back to live in.
Well, I don't know, maybe build a prison. I don't know, but...
As you said in one of the previous episodes, if I were a dictator in my own country, Benjamin Stan, I would do this and that.
So do you think the Soviet approach works in Los Angeles or Las Vegas kind of cities?
It's a bit different because the Soviet Union had more legal powers, whereas in the US
it's kind of liberal in a way.
Well, you can't just build things. For instance, in California, they've been trying to build a high-speed rail line between, I think it's San Francisco and Los Angeles, I think. And they can't even build it because there's so many court litigations because of the land is protected and
there are lots of protests going on that we don't want this kind of thing. Yeah. It's just nature to be destroyed kind of thing, right?
Exactly, yeah. But whereas the Soviet days, you could just take someone's land and
accept the fact that it's going to happen. You know?
Exactly, yeah. So there was that. But of course, the Soviets did achieve the amazing feat of housing everyone in a very cold country, which definitely was something to applaud. Yeah, so... I believe, at some point, maybe we do have to just build a bunch of ugly blocks and shove people in them. Perhaps. Well, let us know what you think in the comments, guys. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And try out a voice recording if you want. Share your beautiful voice with us. And give us suggestions for future podcasts or anything else you'd like to hear, or if you have questions. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for sticking through right to the end, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
See you.
See you. Take care.
See you.